Call to order and a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please, can we have a moment of silence? A moment of silence for our student, our high school student, Aiden Henry. Thank you. Thank you. A roll call. Mr. Pawlowski, please.
Snuck up on me here. Mrs. Deepa Karthik?
Here.
Mr. Raja Krishnan?
Yes.
Mr. Ray Keener? Mr. Mike Mitchell?
Present.
Dr. Smitha Raj? Mrs. Lisa Rogers?
Here.
Mr. Joseph Scaletti?
Here.
Mr. Barry Nathanson?
Here.
Mrs. Joyce Mehta?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Pawlowski. Please, can I have a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Can I have a second? Can I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Rogers. Any discussion? Any abstentions? Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion, please, to approve
So
the
moved.
minutes? Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Karthik, thank you. Any discussion? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Mr. Pawlowski, I need to abstain for the executive minutes and the board minutes of August 25th, as I was not present. Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the report of our student representative, Ms. Ria Krishnan. Over to you, Ria.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On September 16th, we organized our yearly convocation. Special thank you to Zanaya Maynor for coming back and speaking to our students and staff. Additionally, thank you to student speakers Dilali Kumaple, Simran Bidet, Sana Fatima, and Kunal Shukla. Also to Mr. Caravano and Mr. Varela for their words of motivation. It was an extremely successful event. For a club update, 2 successful club fairs were hosted this week where students shopped for their club. Pay to participate for our non-selective clubs will officially open October 1st. We encourage students to attend at least 2 meetings to make sure their schedules match and they like the club before they register. Some exciting news, Spirit Week is coming up. From October 3rd to October 7th, our days are Monday, Adam Sandler, aka Lazy Day, Tuesday, which is Grease Day, Wednesday, we don't have school, Thursday, class color, and Friday, pink out. The senior dinner cruise is scheduled for Sunday, October 23rd. Seniors should be turning in their packets tomorrow. Bus signups will be next week. Homecoming football games save the date for October 7th, for Friday, October 7th. Now moving on to athletics. For girls tennis, the girls tennis team has started the season undefeated at 3-0 with victories over North Brunswick, Old Bridge, and the Pennington School. The team has been led by seniors Kavya and Janvi. Sophomores Stuti Vishwanathan and Serena Srivastava played key roles in early season victories. This week, the team will face Edison and Monroe and look to stay undefeated going into the GMC tournament next week, where they will compete for individual and team accolades. For marching band, the band competition, the Viking Marching Band started its competitive season at Hopewell Valley High School on September 17th. The band took first place in Group 5, opened with a score of 78.0, earning captain awards for Best Music, Visual, Effect, Percussion, and Color Guard. This week, the Viking Marching Band will be hosting the 42nd Annual Tournament of Champions at SBHS. The competition begins at 3 and Viking Marching Band will perform at 8:30. Please come out and support the Viking Marching Band. The SBHS gymnastics team has had a great season. One of our seniors, Sarah Finkelstein, already qualified for sections on the balance beam. We have 2 meets next week. The first is on Thursday, September 28th at Old Bridge, and the second is a home meet on Friday, September 30th, which will also be our senior meet. Lastly, for girls soccer, the girls soccer team came out of the gates strong this season with a starting record of 2-0. We have some great games and events coming up. The first is our GMC Charity Festival game at Metuchen on Saturday, the 24th. For this festival, 22 GMC teams have come together to raise money for the Marissa Tufaro and Go for the Goals Foundation. SB is one of the schools raising money for this foundation. We are excited to compete with teams outside of our division for a great cause that celebrates soccer as well as giving back to the community. Our senior game day is Saturday, the October 8th at 12 p.m. We look forward to celebrating our 7 seniors and all their accomplishments in this program. The 2022 SBHS Athletics Hall of Fame induction ceremony will take place on Friday, September 23rd, tomorrow, at halftime of the football game versus Piscataway High School. Gates open at 5:30, kickoff is at 6:30, and we hope you can make it. Purchase your tickets in advance on GoFan or at the ticket booth. Moving on to a complete list of this year's inductees, we have Indira Morton for cross country, indoor track and field, Ryan Smith for wrestling, Sophia Janez for cross country, indoor track and field, Brendan Verkeman for soccer, wrestling, track and field, Jessica Diggory for gymnastics, Kayla Del Piano for cross country, indoor track and field, Lindsay Carbone for gymnastics and track and field, Coach Joe Doherty for wrestling, Coach John Coppola for girls lacrosse, and Elaine McGrath, the retired director of athletics. Also, the 1980 varsity basketball team head coach, Dennis Dittrey. Some upcoming home games include football versus Piscataway tomorrow, boys soccer versus St. Joseph, field hockey versus South Plainfield on the 24th, girls soccer versus North Brunswick on the 28th, and boys soccer versus Monroe on the 29th. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ria. Before we move on, just have a quick statement to make as a statement of advance notice. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting, including date, time, and location, to be posted in the South Brunswick Public Library and at the Board office, filed with the Township Clerk, and communicated to the Home News Tribune and at Star Ledger. Thank you. Moving on, we now have the report of the Superintendent of Schools. Over to you, Mr. Feder.
All right, thank you. I'm going to start sharing a little bit about Aiden Henry, our 10th grader who did pass on the 15th. So we learned that Aiden Henry, who was a 10th grader at the high school, passed away from medical complications. This was devastating news to our South Brunswick family, of course his family, our staff and students alike. Aiden played lacrosse and football his freshman year and also coached and played basketball in the South Brunswick Recreational League. This loss has been felt very deeply by many in our school community, as Aiden has younger siblings attending Crossroads South and Cambridge Elementary. He actually has 4 siblings. Aiden's family shared with us how much Aiden loved his teachers, his staff, friends, and we just want everybody to please keep his family in thoughts during this difficult time. It's a tremendous loss, and it is definitely affecting many, staff and students alike. So, with that, I'm going to go into my report. Moving to that, I want to just talk a little about a positive. In the audience tonight, over there to the far, far left, is one Suzanne Luckborn. On the agenda tonight, for your consideration, is having Suzanne Luckborn no longer be our director. She's leaving us as the director and will be moving to assistant superintendent as long as you approve tonight. So with that said, I know Suzanne would love to come up and say a couple words, maybe? Come on up, Suzanne. Come on down, Shai. Thank you, Barry.
I actually do feel like I won a prize. I want to thank the board and say hello to all of South Brunswick joining us in the auditorium and watching at home. It is a privilege to continue to serve the South Brunswick community in this new capacity. I look forward to continuing the relationships with our students, staff members, and families, and seeing where we can go next as a district. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Woo-hoo. All right. Great, so soon Suzanne will have a place up here, if all goes well tonight. But right now, Suzanne, you stay there. You're stuck there. All right, so sent out a letter today to the whole community. I think we're still waiting on a nixle from, I know the police have been very busy today, but we're looking for a nixle to go out so the entire community has an opportunity to learn about the budget committee formation. So I looked right before, we already have 30 people that have put in. To that, we will be taking quite a large number, but all the information about this is both on the website. It's an email that's been put out. It's been tweeted. I think it's been Facebooked. It's everywhere we can. As soon as the nixle comes out, that goes out to a greater, larger community, because this budget committee is not only about South Brunswick families and South Brunswick staff. It's about the community. The budget affects the entire community, business owners. It affects our seniors. It affects everybody who has any business or lives in the town. So we're looking for a wide variety of people, a very diverse committee. And so far, looking at the communications, we are getting people from all over the spectrum of places so far. But we still have plenty of room. We won't be able to take everybody that applies, I'm sure, but we're going to take as many as we can. And we are doing this in person. All that information, again, is on the communication that's been sent out. So we'll be looking forward to that. And I know board members probably have expressed interest as well. And we'll be taking a few board members at the same time as we'll be taking community, staff, and other. All right. I don't know if there's any questions from the board on that particular topic, though. No? Okay. So I'm going to share about another topic. So we have some assessment information. So by statute, we are required to annually notify parents or guardians by October 1st any statewide assessment, student assessments, or commercially developed standardized assessment that will be administered over the course of the school year. Information about this was sent home in today's SMOR that provided the name of the assessment testing window dates, grade levels, and as such. On top of that, the NJSLA scores from the 2022 year are now visible to parents through the Genesis Parent Portal. So if your student took NJSLA last year, they will have scores in that portal. We as a district and as a group of educators, we really analyze these scores and try to see what we can learn about where we can improve our own programming for our kids and our instructional practice. So that is all happening as we speak, as that is a normal part of our process every year with these results. We are also in the middle of Start Strong. Is that right, Suzanne? So Start Strong is happening. We don't know when we'll get those results, but we expect them before the winter break, I would think, get those back. And that'll be another piece of data we can look at and analyze and see what we learn about our students. So whether we agree with the testing or not, we're still going to use the data and use that to the best of our ability to make decisions about instructional programming for kids, both individually and more aggregate of what we do with the programs in total. So that's all happening. Another event that's coming up is our back to school nights. Sent out a letter about that, and then you should be receiving specific information from your local schools. Basically, to keep it short and sweet, our middle and high schools will be holding this virtually, again, as we've done recently. This is really to see, now that we're not doing a reason because of COVID, we learned a lot of things during COVID. And one was that the structure of back to school night in the high school and the middle school is an intense evening for parents. It is a very busy evening where they rush from one spot to the next. And we believe we can solve that this way. So we're going to do that this year. And then what we're going to do is after back to school night is over, we're going to be sending out a survey to both families and staff so we can learn more about what works, what doesn't work. From that survey, we'll learn if we should continue that path and maybe make some improvements as to what we do, or do we need to change it back up again. For elementary, where we have our little ones, we believe still the idea, you're basically seeing one, possibly two people, not 6 or possibly 8 like in the middle and high school, to keep it in person, to keep it back to pre-pandemic. And what this means is we do not take the process of a one-time, one-size-fits-all. We're trying to do what's best. Doesn't mean we're right, but we're going to do the same thing with elementary. We're going to do it, then we're going to take feedback from parents and staff, and again, learn from that, either try to improve it, or we're looking to see if we need to do something differently. The good news is we have options right now. We're not bound by COVID-related must-dos, so we're trying to work in our best ability to manage and take what we've learned during the pandemic. So that's all good, and again, we'll find out. And the board, you'll see a survey come out after the elementary programs on October 3rd, and the high school and middle school programs a little bit before that. Or I think the middle school might be even after that. But when it's all said and done, survey comes out. Any questions from the board? Barry?
Yeah, you didn't mention a couple weeks ago, and we've gotten memos on it, the preschool application. You were going to meet with the state and revisit what was going on, because on Saturday at the legislative committee, they brought up that there was some confusion by the DOE as far as free and reduced lunch, and that's what caused the problem with some of the districts. So I was wondering if you met with them.
So I didn't finish my report yet.
Oh, okay.
So why don't I talk about preschool expansion aid now, though? So preschool expansion aid, we were rejected the first time around. We asked for $1.8 million, which would encompass 10 full-day free preschool programs for our school district. Right now we run 10 half-day programs where some students are paying. So all of those students that are currently paying would be getting free, and that would have to increase our numbers by 5 teachers and 5 instructional support staff to 10. So that's an additional 5 and 5. So that's very expensive. We also need space, busing. It's a very complex process. So the first time they gave us the preschool, the first year we've been invited to even apply. So in doing so, we applied. We had, as I've said before, about 5 minutes to do a 37-page application. We submitted it with crazy deadlines and crazy due dates and crazy start dates, and we did not get the money. However, we did request why we did not get the money, and they did hold a meeting, and they have provided us a full document showing where we scored points, where we didn't score points on their rubric. So now we have the rubric, we have our scores, we have where they say we were short, and so now what we do is we work together again. I think we're meeting again early next week to rebuild our proposal now that we have a little more time. Now it's not due until October 16th, which is great, and now it doesn't start until January 3rd, which was what it always should have been. So we might be in a better position in getting it the second time around and starting in January rather than starting in this crazy October deadline, which never would have really happened anyway. So we're excited about the opportunity. The state is offering various supports, including Rutgers is involved. We're allowed to send off our application to Rutgers in advance, where their preschool early childhood program will evaluate it and give us feedback. So we're gonna take advantage of everything, because at the end of the day, no matter what process the state is using or what craziness hoops they make us jump through, at the end of the day, getting free preschool for our district, which within 5 years would encompass every available preschooler who is of age and parents want them in the program, can't give that up. So we're gonna keep moving forward with it, and hopefully I'll have better news for you. I believe they told us we'd learn in November if we are getting the money this time around. So you got it. So that's back to school night, that's preschool expansion. Some more good news, we have Merit Scholars that we do this thing every year. This year we're excited to share that we have been notified that we have 6 of our high school students have been named semifinalists and 66 as commended students. So again, we always hover in the 70 to 80 range. So pandemic, schmandemic has not stopped us. They keep going, and these kids are amazing. And we have one more cool thing to report. One of our seniors, Christine Zhang, received a perfect score on an AP art and design exam. Perfect. That's rare. We rarely get these things. So the college board sent us a whole document about this. It was amazing. So that's something we're putting out, and really want to congratulate Christine, and maybe we'll bring her here to one of our meetings, upcoming meetings, and be able to thank her in person. So just great news. That's all part of it. The other good news is the Merit Scholars. When we do that award, which I think happens usually after the winter break, when we do, is it that? I think that's when we do it. that'll be live. So we're going to bring kids back in this room this year when we can. So that's all coming down the pike as well. Upcoming information, things that are happening. October 3rd through 8th is a Week of Respect Week. And we observe that week, and they do a lot of age-appropriate instruction in all the schools, managing that. We also have domestic violence coming up, awareness for that. We have Dyslexia Awareness Month. These are just extremely important things that a school takes on and works with partners in the community. For a Dyslexia Awareness Month, South Brunswick has always been committed to what we call a dyslexia-friendly district. And we do above and beyond the required training of staff. The requirement in the state of New Jersey is that every X number of years, I'm not exactly sure, I think it's 3 to 5, you have to do a dyslexia training. We do it every year for 2 hours. And that's a live presentation, not a GCN one. It's important to the district. So we keep that up. If I have my information wrong about how often we're supposed to do that, I do apologize, but I am happy to say every year we do dyslexia training with the appropriate parties, as we want to make sure we identify it in students as early as we can to then provide support for those students and not have them fall through the cracks. And that's extremely important to us. Another just piece of notification. Tomorrow, just so the board knows, tomorrow the board office is actually going to be working from home due to the electricity being completely shut off tomorrow by our, is it PSE&G, I guess? They are coming to install various electrical boards and whatever they do. So the building shut down. So staff that needs to be in and about on site will be at different buildings. Staff that can do their work from home that day will be. And the other part I want to announce, in case people do not remember, is Monday and Tuesday we are closed, schools are closed in observance of Rosh Hashanah. And our next board meeting will be October 13th, and that does conclude my report.
Thank you, Mr. Feder. Also, just a quick note, Mr. Feder, the suicide awareness walk supported by the South Brunswick School District. Just want to congratulate all of those people that were involved in that. It was extremely successful. Just want to add that. Moving on, this is the first opportunity for public comment. It's on consent agenda items only. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Complete copies of the rules that govern this portion of the meeting are available to the public at the back of the room, or you can obtain an advanced copy by contacting the board office during regular business hours. We reserve the right to limit each speaker to no more than 3 minutes. It is our plan to listen to each member of the public. We will note all questions and comments made. Once all questions and comments from all members of the public are made, the Board of Education will respond, if necessary, to questions or comments in the most timely and efficient manner available. Please consider not repeating comments and questions made by other members of the public. I ask that you state your name, place of residence, or your group affiliation. And as I say, this is on consent agenda items only. Mr. Pawlowski, do we have any registered speakers?
None at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Pawlowski. Anybody in the audience who would like to speak on consent agenda items only, please come to the podium. Thank you.
So, first of all, what did you mean by consent agenda items? Let me clarify that first.
So there's 2 times for public comment. The first time is items, questions, or comments specifically related to the items that are on our agenda for this evening.
Okay.
So if it's, what is your topic? I'll tell you if it's on there.
Special eds teacher, special education teachers, and what we have experiencing as a special education parent.
So that would be second. So,
I should wait.
Yeah, you have to wait a little bit, and then we'll call you right back up there, okay?
Not long, though. Thank you so much, sir. So seeing anybody else, would you like to speak on consent agenda items only? Seeing none. Moving on to the consent agenda review and the walkthrough. Over to you, Mr. Pawlowski.
We have a very succinct agenda this evening. All of our financials, agenda items 1 through 4, 1.1 through 1.4. We're authorizing a competitive contract process. To get started with that, we are approving a contract with Ms. Luckborn. We have affirmative action officer position that we're appointing. We have a motion that's required for our district emergency virtual remote instruction travel for expenses and related reimbursement for professional development. And we have some student field trips, and as well as your memorandum of agreement with the College of New Jersey. So a very succinct and very easy agenda this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Plowski. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Yes, Mrs. Rogers?
I just have two. The first is 1.5, approve authorization for the competitive contracting process, whereas we're looking to analyze district disproportionality and achieving equity. Can you just explain that a little bit as to what we're looking to do?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. 1.5, which is the contract to analyze district disproportionality and achieving equity.
So to begin the process of looking for vendors to provide this service for the district, we have to have the board approve the process first. So we can't just go out and competitive contract for anything unless we have board approval.
No, that I understand. I'm sorry, that wasn't
So
clear. It was my fault. The actual, what are we trying to do? Yeah, sorry, that was my fault. I wasn't
Yeah,
clear.
it's good.
The content.
Yeah.
So our district has been identified as having disproportionality in some of our areas, and who get suspended, for example. We've been identified different years for disproportionate for white students, disproportionate for African American students. We've been cited for disproportionality of certain students in certain programs. So as a result of that, the state is offering districts three program support from the state, and they've hired a gentleman group for that. So what we're looking to do is part of our equity and diversity goals is get support from experts in how to best manage disproportionality, as well as lots of areas in our district. In a district like ours, where there is so much diversity, we definitely want to make sure we're not leaving any student behind, and we have students from all walks of life in every different way, and we really want to do better with that.
Okay.
So this is a way for us to identify who can do what for us, and then how that will interface with the work we do with the state.
Okay. Second question I had was on, where is it? 1.11, where we're approving the agreement between South Brunswick and TCNJ for the purpose of dual enrollment, which I think is phenomenal, by the way. So congratulations on that. To be able to have students take college credits to apply to TCNJ is an awesome achievement. My question is, it might be too soon to ask, but are we going to be looking at doing this with other colleges, i.e. Monmouth University, Rutgers, Rowan, any other school that is looking at maybe a dual
we already
enrollment?
do, and this is an add-on.
It's an add-on.
We're always looking to see what we can do that will benefit our students. So this is another now university that we can partner with.
Who do we have so far?
So I know we recently just did, is it Ramapo?
Yes,
That north?
okay, I do remember that, yes.
Ramapo, we just did with them, give Stephen Schiff, our coordinator for the new academy, to coordinate with them on some very high-level computer science work. So that's a course.
Okay.
He's looking to expand upon that. We do Middlesex as well. So I'm not sure of all of them, to be honest, Lisa, but our goal is to be able to provide for our students in any way we can with this.
So when a family is looking to help their child choose the classes that they're going to take, or the child themselves doing the classes, do we have a section, and forgive me, I should have checked before I asked the question, but I didn't have time. Do we have a section in the curriculum on the website that identifies specifically which are dual enrollment?
So
how does a family
I can
know
tell
to
you,
do
like,
that?
the counselors work with the kids
Okay,
on this. I'm not sure exactly what they're specifically identified to tell or not tell, but it's not a hidden process.
no,
As
right.
to, I can't give you specifics in this minute. I didn't
I
prepare
know,
for
it was-
that tonight.
I- shoot from the hip.
And we can get that for you, of course.
Yeah.
But what you should know is that the counselors work with the kids to identify what pathways
Okay.
exist for them.
Okay,
It's
that's
not-
good to
It's
know.
not just throwing darts.
Throwing darts, right, that's what I just wanted to make sure I understood the process. Thank you, I yield.
Mrs. Rogers, any other questions to my right? Seeing none, to my left? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Plowski, for the walkthrough. Moving on to old business, although we have nothing listed on the agenda, I'd just like to give you an update, if I may. So the retreat, the board retreat, the only convenient date for everybody was October 10th. Unfortunately, it's a religious holiday, it's a Jewish holiday, and so Mr. Nathanson cannot attend, and I'm sure Mr. Feder probably too, so that won't work for us as the board. So I did propose other dates in November, and I asked, obviously, out of respect to Mr. Feder first, I asked for the 10th of November. Unfortunately, that won't work because it's the week of the Teachers' Convention. And then I proceeded to move on to the following week. That week as well is extremely packed in the district schedule. We have a board meeting. We also have the budget committee meeting. It's a packed week. So what I'm suggesting at this point is that, and then the following weeks, obviously leading up to Thanksgiving. So what I'm suggesting at this point is that it's just very difficult to schedule this right now. And in view of, the reorg is just coming up very shortly in January, where we will have at least one more new board member, I'm suggesting that we delay the retreat until after the reorg, if there's consensus or if there's any discussion with that. Is that okay with everybody?
I'm fine with it.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Mrs. Rogers?
I agree that we should move it, but I think we need to schedule a date in January, so that's on everybody's calendar. It's 3 months in advance. It gives everybody plenty of time, excuse me, to confirm that. And the individual that would be joining us, they'll know in November of the date, and I think it would be good to solidify the actual date.
Thank you, Mrs. Rogers. So with that, then, I do propose, since we do have time, a lot of time right now, that, we send out another poll, unless board members would like to look at their calendars right now and to propose, not the poll, okay, and propose a date. Mrs. Rogers, do you have a date in mind?
Hold on, just give me 2 seconds. I think it was the 12th.
We did. We said the 12th before.
It was the Thursday between
The 12th
the
of January.
reorg meeting on the 5th, I
Yes.
believe, and the board meeting on the, what would that be, the 19th?
I have
That-
January 12th.
12th.
Yes,
Already on my calendar for board retreat.
good. That's the date then that I propose.
So with that, January 12th, is that okay with the board? Is that okay? Seeing a consensus here, we will schedule the board retreat for January 12th, 2023. Thank you, board. Moving on now to new business. We have none at this time. And now, moving on to the approval of the consent agenda. Can I have a motion, please, for the approval of tonight's consent agenda?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Mr. Nathanson. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Karthik. Thank you. Any discussion? Any opposed? Oh, can I have roll call?
you go.
Mr. Pulowski, roll call, please.
Ms. Deepa Karthik? Yes. Mr. Raja Krishna?
Yes.
Mr. Ray Keener? Mr. Mike Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell, do you have to abstain from one?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
There you
Yes,
go.
and wait, let me do it again.
Yes,
I abstain from A 1.9 and yes to everything else.
you got it. Perfect. Dr. Smitha Raj? Absent. Mrs. Lisa Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Scoletti?
Yes.
Mr. Barry Nathanson?
Yes.
Mrs. Joyce Mehta?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you,
We
Mr.
have a quick
Pulowski.
round of applause for Mrs. Luckborn.
Oh, yes.
Welcome, Ms. Luckborn. Heartfelt welcome. Can she join us at the table?
We could, Yeah, you want to come sit up here?
No, wait a minute.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Hold, please.
Oh,
Oh, look at this.
Come on down, Suzanne.
Heck yeah, I will come up. Yeah, everybody comes up. All right, Suzanne, the floor is yours. Your turn. Take over.
Welcome, Mrs. Luckborn. Welcome. Right, moving on to board committee and liaison reports. To my right, do we have any board committee liaison reports? Seeing none. To my left, Mr. Nathanson.
Yeah, I have a couple. Saturday was our quarterly New Jersey School Board Legislative Committee meeting. Mrs. Rogers and Mr. Mitchell attended. The Speaker of the Assembly was there, and he basically talked for a little while, didn't really take questions. He was given questions that we sent in. One of the questions after discussion with Mr. Feder was regarding the 2% cap, and basically he has no appetite to change the 2% cap because he's worried about taxes, and unfortunately I didn't get a word. I said my piece after he left that in South Brunswick it wouldn't affect anybody's taxes, and in most cases that's probably the same in a lot of the S2 districts. So that being said, he basically ran away. We'll have another bite at the apple board. The Speaker won't be there. They haven't announced which assembly and senators are coming down to AC. That is on Tuesday, and it's going to be run again by the legislative people from the Jersey school boards, and that allows us to ask questions from the floor, so it's a little different. So if you look at it, right now you're allowed to go on the site and not sign up yet, but like what you want. So if you're interested in that, please like that. The other thing I want to bring up is, as liaison to the Education Foundation, their annual A Taste for Education, and it's the 11th annual. They really haven't done it since COVID. It's at Pierre's. It's on October 20th from 6 to 9. And I saw the list of restaurants, and it's the most ever in the 11 years. It's amazing. Shabuha and her committee did an unreal job. It's only $35 donation, and the food is usually really good. There's also, to go with the food, there is a tricky tray that goes on, and a silent auction. So it's a fun night. So if you're interested, you go on the website, Education Foundation of South Brunswick, and you can register right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nathanson. Any other board committee liaison reports?
It's not a committee. I just want to add to what Barry was saying. As you had mentioned, we were on that same phone call. There's a bill that's on the floor. It actually was passed by the Senate Bill 50, and it opens the door to add tests because of the language that it includes. Right now we have the high school exit exam, which everybody is kind of back and forth on, and many of us are against the high school exit exam. What we are finding, some of us are finding that it discriminates actually against those with IEPs. It discriminates against those that are maybe in lower income districts with the language that's actually utilized in the test. Many children don't really understand it. But anyway, come to find out that the New Jersey school boards actually supported the exit exam when it did not support the Start Strong. So the Start Strong is happening right now. We were against it, New Jersey school boards, and for some reason they chose to support the high school exit exam, Bill S50. And there was a hot debate on that call. And tomorrow, myself and another board member from a different district are going to be having a phone call with one of the reps from NJSBA to better understand how they decide what they're going to support and not support without polling the school boards around the district. We want to understand how they went forward and said, yeah, we'll support the high school exit exam when no school board around the state of New Jersey gave any input. So I just want to put that out there. The S50 did pass Senate, and it's scheduled to go Assembly. We don't know when, but hopefully we'll have more information on that as well.
Thank you, Mrs. Rogers. If there are no other committee or liaison reports, I'd just like to say that as the liaison for the South Brunswick Commission on Women, we will be holding our annual domestic violence walk, and that will be on October 16th. That's Sunday, October 16th, from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and that will be at Greenbrook Elementary School. So you're all very, very welcome to join us for the domestic violence walk. And board members, please feel free to join us and to support us for the walk. Thank you. Any others? No? Seeing none? Moving on now to the second opportunity for public comment. Now, this opportunity is for any topic that you would like to speak on, but please do come to the... Oh, wait, one second. Mr. Plowski, do we have any registered speakers? No.
None. No.
Okay, please come to the podium, and I ask that you state your name, place of residence, or your group affiliation. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. So thank you for this opportunity. Myself, Amit Patil. I live at Monmouth Junction itself, in Monmouth Walk. I am here as a concerned parent of a special ed student in our South Brunswick school district. I'm representing almost all the parents that I know, and I'm trying to raise concerns that we see as parents of special ed teacher. As you all know, communication with special ed students is kind of difficult. They don't generally come and tell us at home like what exactly has happened in school and so on and so forth. So it is very important for us to know from the school what are the challenges that they're facing and what are the things that are happening in school. So I'd like to anecdote few things that we are experiencing as a parent. What my personal observation is the communication style has been deteriorating compared to last year to this year. A couple of incidences that happened as of this year is some of our kids did not had any teacher assigned to them as part of the new year, and that communication didn't come out to us in any form or shape from the school district saying that assignments have not happened in advance. That's the first thing. When all the parents reached out to our case managers, one of the case managers replied back, but most case managers did not reply back. This was a 1 week period where we did not knew before the school started that what exactly is happening with our kid, whether the schools are, who teacher is, and so on and so forth. Further, when we reached out to the principal of the school, she did apologize and she did communicate that there is a teacher to be assigned, but we came to know that that also is a temporary teacher, meaning they have a substitute teacher for now, and the actual teacher is still not assigned to the school. As a special kid parent, we feel like the kids should have a continuation of their course, and there should be some consistency in the format. Not having a proper teacher who has a special education background, because an assigned temporary teacher doesn't have a special education background as well. So that's another point in terms of assignment or the priority that is given to the position. So that's one thing. So throughout this, we did not get the advanced communication on the day of on the first day of the school. And when we reached out, we get the communication back, as well as case managers have not responded. So that's what I'm trying to paint here is communication issues. Second thing is about transportation. From a transportation standpoint of view, as I earlier said, again, it's about communication, right? The bus teachers who have been assigned, they are having difficulty in the English language. So for them to understand what a special normal kid is telling is kind of really challenging. Plus, add complexity of the special education part of it, or communication issues a part of it, it's going to be really difficult for the kids to communicate with the bus driver. The help in the bus driver doesn't understand English. So I feel somehow that maybe because it's a lesser number of kids, there is some, because I have another kid who's a normal kid and she has a proper bus driver and everything is proper on that side. But is there a priority change that we are observing? Is there less focus on the special education kids as such, is what my concern is coming from.
So just real quick, sir, we have a time limit for public comment, and you're at your time limit, so we'll give you a few more seconds if you could wrap up your thoughts.
Thank you. Two serious incidents that I want to wrap up. One of the kid was boarded the bus but never dropped to the home, and the parent didn't had a clue where the kid is. School didn't had a clue. What we came to know later on, that the bus driver was not informed about the address of the kid. So that kid went out back to the school and so on and so forth. That's one incident. And as a special ed parent, again, it's difficult to understand this situation. The second incident is from the past year. One of the students had a blood stain on their trousers. There was no communication from the school, like why that happened. It is a very serious concern when you see, because the kid is not able to tell me what has happened. So that's another concern that I had, and we had to follow up.
Just for clarification, you say this happened last year, school year?
This is last year, yeah. So what I'm trying to paint a picture is a series of communication problems, and trying to get your attention to the challenge. One last point, I would like to hear more representation about special ed's achievements as well. Thanks to Ria, she has really done a good job of presenting all the other kids. I would request if you can to accommodate for special ed presentation in terms of their achievements will be great. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you, sir.
comments.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Julie Ferrara.
One second, Ms.
Yes.
If you could email me so I have your information. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feder. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Julie Ferrara. I live in Kendall Park section of South Brunswick. It was nice to hear all the good things happening in the district and with the students tonight. That was great. I'm here tonight to express my opinion on the topic of transgenderism in America. Transgenderism is the new fad among our teens. In Great Britain, a recent study showed a 4,000% increase in girls seeking gender reassignment in one 10-year period. This is a frightening statistic that cannot reflect the true number of people with gender dystopia. This shows that transgender movement is a form of social hysteria that influences young females at a vulnerable time in their life. Recently, a number of former transgender activists have referred with great concern that this is a form of manipulation and child abuse. Dr. Erica Anderson, a clinical psychologist specializing in gender issues, who is transgender herself, states that young people are trying to transgender without the proper mental health evaluations. Can South Brunswick District assure the community that students will receive the proper amount of mental health evaluations in such situations? The problem with this is an ethical one. Parents are being left out of the most critical time in their children's life when it comes to life-altering medical procedures. Recently, there have been many stories reported of teen girls who have detransitioned and have been left infertile and physically maimed. These girls stated they were not given the proper evaluations before they were allowed to transgender. This could present many litigation issues. If not done properly, South Brunswick will be leaving themselves open to many legal issues. Parents need to be involved in these and all major decisions. In America, we tell our teens they cannot smoke, they cannot use alcohol until age 21. Why is it that the schools and the medical communities can tell our minors it's okay to mutilate their bodies and take life-altering hormones that will do irreparable harm? If you believe in these practices, you have not advanced as a society, but have returned to a most hedonistic time in history. I hope that we may soon return to reason with a much greater foundation for success as a society than what we are now offering. Can we postpone these decisions until our children have matured? All teenage confusion about sexuality usually passes once teens' bodies have sufficiently gone through puberty. We, the parents, will keep fighting for these demands because we know that it is what is right concerning our kids.
Ms. Farrar.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just, Ms. Farrar, just a quick question. What are the practices you're looking for us to delay?
Any kind of admission of hormone treatments or referrals to clinics.
So do you believe that...
Without parental consent.
Do you believe, or have you seen in any capacity, that our current curriculum or future curriculum talks about hormone replacement?
Does your...
I'm just asking a question. You made a comment.
I'm talking about America in general. I'm speaking about...
You want me to change America in general? Now, let's focus on South Brunswick.
I'm just talking about the fads and how they can affect us.
You asked the Board of Education.
1 second.
I will. You asked the Board of Education to delay. I'm asking just a simple question. What is it you're looking for the South Brunswick Board of Education to delay?
To delay the decision to transgender while in high school.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your comments. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to make a comment? Thank you, sir. I ask that you state your name, your place of residence, or your group affiliation.
Good evening. My name is William Buchanan, and I've been a resident of Monmouth Junction, South Brunswick since 1987. I'd like to ask the question to the board as whether parents are allowed to write to their schools and opt out of the sexual education curriculum, particularly the new one, for their children as they may have concerns for their religious and cultural beliefs. This may be especially important for prepubescent children. Children's physical, intellectual, and emotional development varies with the individual. Parents and healthcare providers may be more appropriate at judging the appropriate education in this area for their children. And my question is, may parents opt out?
Thank you, sir.
I can answer.
Thank you, Mr. Vedder. Over to you.
So we have provided a document sent out to our parents, our families, that address that exact issue. But also on November 2nd, if you want to mark it down, we'll be hosting a parent academy. And there's also an area on that document which we sent out, which you can ask questions right through there on a Google document. So you can ask anything you want there. So we'll have it in advance to be prepared to answer at the meeting on November 2nd. And on November 2nd, we'll also be talking about the way you opt out for certain lessons related to what you've talked about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to make any public comment? No, seeing none. That concludes our meeting. So I would like to can I get a motion for an adjournment, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nathanson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, South Brunswick.